Yeah, Triple B's in the building, Big Baller Brand supports the NBA Buzz and the Inside Buzz. We with you, man, Triple B style.
Hi, and welcome to episode 24 of Inside Buzz, where I have Smush Parker with me, one of the most talked about Lakers players of the mid 2000s. I'm Mikey Domagala, and I'll tell you about Parker's career, which spanned 17 years professionally, 6 years in the NBA, and 11 overseas. He spent time with the Clippers, the Cavs, the Suns, the Heat, and of course the Los Angeles Lakers, where he was the starting point guard alongside Kobe Bryant from 2005 to 2007. Now, in 2020, he has his own clothing brand, Smush Parker Elite, and he's training to get back into the NBA, but this time as a referee. Alright, Smush, welcome to episode 24 of Inside Buzz. I appreciate you joining me.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Smush, as everybody could see and everybody's used to, they're used to me being in my Inside Buzz gear, but I got something different on. I got the Smush Parker Elite gear, and you got the Inside Buzz tee. Did a little bit of a jersey swap. I appreciate you doing it. Can you tell me more about your company and the merch I'm wearing?
All right, so a little bit about my company or my brand, I like to say. When I retired from basketball, I wanted to give back to the community. You know, there are a lot of inner city kids who don't have the resources to make it to a high profile athletes basketball camp or clinic, or even make it to an NBA game. They may never meet an NBA player in their life. So what I wanted to do was I created, free basketball camps and clinics for those kids, because I was once them growing up, and I wish that I met an NBA player, growing up. And here I am. Fast forward, I'm an NBA player, made it to the NBA, and I feel like I could give back to the community. So what I did was I created a brand just to bring awareness to what I do for the kids.
Perfect. As everybody could see right here, here's Smush on the shirt. Great basketball logo. Check at Smush_Parker_Elite on Instagram. I know you could find all the merch there. And Smush, I've been following you for a while on Instagram there. And I see you've been trying to move up the ranks in the referee world. Now, we might not see you back in the NBA as a player, but can we as a referee?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm working on now. As you said, I'm working up the ranks. Became an official. Last October, I passed the test, got my certificate, and I've been refereeing about a year and a half now. And due to COVID, sports are on pause, unfortunately. But once sports comes back up, hopefully in early January of 2021, my ranks, I can start working back up to my goal, and that's making it back to the NBA as a referee.
That would be quite the story, man. And speaking of 2020, it's been a wild year. COVID-19 caused for months, every city in America to just board up their stores, but also their basketball courts, take down the rims, the hoops. Now, as an inner city kid growing up, who spent time on the playgrounds, on those courts, how did you feel seeing everything like that? All the rims taken down?
Surreal. As you stated, businesses were boarded up. I'll get back to the basketball courts, but businesses were boarded up. And you're from New York City, there's millions of businesses. And, just walking down New York City and the streets being empty, New York City is never empty. It's a city that never sleeps. So seeing it in that condition was mind blowing. But to the fact of walking down the street and seeing millions of parks with no rims, just backboards and no kids outside playing. And New York City is the mecca of basketball. There's a million basketball courts in New York City. There's one on every block, and that there were no kids in the parks at all playing. There was no rims, no nets. It was devastating.
Is there like a really crazy experience that you remember from growing up and playing hoops on the streets of Brooklyn?
Well, not. I wouldn't say it's a crazy story, but I do have a memory, um, and it's sort of it's sort of the reason why. Actually, I'm not going to say sort of. It is the inspiration on what I do now, as far as giving back to the kids and doing what I do for the kids in the community. When I was about 13 years old, I met Anthony Mason, who at the time was a New York Knick. I had never watched an NBA game, never seen him play. I just knew that when he was at the park at West 4th Street basketball courts playing in the NBA, in the New York City championship game, everybody was so excited to see him. And I remember the buzz and the energy that was created just by him being there. And I took a picture with him again, not knowing he was a New York Knick, just knowing that he played in the NBA. And I remember that memory when I was 13. I don't remember too many days when I was 13, but I remember that day vividly. And I was just like, you know what? If Anthony Mason could create that memory for me, why not me, Smush Parker, be able to create that memory and somebody else to kind of inspire them to want to be great, just like Anthony Mason did for me.
Man, shout out to Anthony Mason, one of the most underrated players of the 90s. Also, rest in peace. Also, shout out to his son, Antoine Mason, who I interviewed a while back. And Smush, you're a high school star. You go to Fordham, you're a college star, 16 points per game. In 2019, I'm going to take a little forward. Dwayne Wade posted a video on social media of himself splitting screens. And he said, I remember being in college and seeing Smush Parker split screens and seeing how effective they were. I wanted to master it, so I did, and it became a signature of his. So when you saw that, how'd you react to D Wade giving you that love all those years later?
I was honored. D Wade is arguably the number two best, top three two guard in NBA history. And for him to just out of the blue give me a compliment and a shout out was an honor. To tell you a little bit about that story, I don't think I was a star. You said I was a college star, high school star. I was just a kid who loved to play basketball. But I got a chance to play with D Wade and Shaq in Miami, and D Wade told me that story. We played. I remember that game vividly. Fordham University went down to play Marquette. Now they smacked us by like 50. D Wade had 30 at halftime. Didn't play the whole second half. He said that they were watching game tape of me and the Fordham Rams, and during the game tape, the whole time they was like, "Yo, who is this skinny kid getting wherever he wants to on the basketball court? We have to stop this. There's no way that this skinny kid right here, Smush Parker, is gonna kill us the way he's killing everybody else." So they made it their business to really hone in their defense on stopping me from I guess getting to wherever I wanted to get to. And he said, even then, the way I was just splitting screens and getting into the lane and getting whatever shots. Again, it was just an honor for D Wade to say what he said.
And that Fordham Marquette game, how much do you remember about matching up with D Wade? You said he had 30 in the half. I mean, how crazy was he pre-NBA?
He was. I didn't get a chance to see much of him in his Marquette career. I got firsthand view in a little exhibition game, and like I said, he had 30 at halftime. Didn't even play the second half.
That just tells you the story right there, Yeah. And last week on NBA Buzz, I posted that it was the 17th anniversary of LeBron James's Cavaliers debut. Now, I know you didn't play with LeBron that year, but you were in Cleveland the year before, and a video came out from before the Cavs drafted him. When asked if LeBron would turn the team around, you said,
and he would come in and make an immediate impact like a Caron Butler, did for the Miami.
But Carlos Boozer said, we have better players than him at his position. And Darius Miles said, you can't bring in a high school player and think the team would turn around. Now, looking at Boozer and Miles' statements, how do you feel about that?
I can't, speak to, those players. They respectively had their own legendary NBA careers. I just know that I get a lot of flack for that video because they think that I, said something, that was totally off and hating against LeBron. But people forget what Caron Butler did for the Miami Heat when they brought him in. They really don't know who Caron Butler is. They forget. They need to do some research. And Caron Butler had an immediate impact when he first went to Miami Heat. And when they asked me that question, I was like, listen, can this high school kid be an impact in the NBA? And I said, yes, he can be an immediate impact like Caron Butler did for the Miami Heat. But, social media wise, fans, LeBron James fans, come at me, every day, every other day about that video whenever it resurfaces about me hating on LeBron.
your first few years in the NBA, you bounce around. You know, you got there in Cleveland after going undrafted. Then you make a stop in Greece. Then back to the NBA in Detroit and Phoenix. Now, that bouncing around, how did that affect you mentally for not getting your feet set with the team just yet?
Just to be completely honest with you, I mean, I played, 5, 6 years in the NBA. Had the opportunity of playing with some great players, great teams. Like you said, I was in Cleveland before LeBron James. I played with the Detroit Pistons the year after they won their championship. So I got the aroma of an NBA championship. But there was great leaders on that team: Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Tayshaun Prince, Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, Derek Coleman, Lindsey Hunter, Darwin Ham. I remember that team very vivid. They was coached by Larry Brown. Very savvy vets, very knowledgeable guys who've been in the NBA a long time. It was great playing with those guys and learning. Played with the Phoenix Suns. I had a chance to play behind Steve Nash. Amari Stoudemire, Sean Marion, those guys, Boris Diaw, and then I got to play with Kobe Bryant. In LA, coached by Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson coached Michael Jordan and the great Chicago Bulls. Then down in Miami, Coach Pat Riley, Shaquille O'Neal, D. Wade, Gary Payton, White Chocolate. I had a chance to play with some greats, and I did bounce around a little bit, but I honestly feel, to get back to your question, I honestly feel like I really didn't make the NBA because I didn't get those, that stability, that 4 or 5 year contract that a lot of NBA players get, where they could just, they got a contract that's guaranteed, and they could just kind of exhale now and just play basketball instead of worrying about keeping a job. I always felt like I had to come in and prove myself, and it was a little nerve wracking, but like I said, I did it for about 5, 6 years, and I played for some great guys, teammates, but I don't think the NBA got the best of Smush Parker.
And I know you said you were always battling to get a spot, battling for a contract, but man, once you landed in LA, that was your proving ground. The bright lights of LA, Kobe Bryant, Lamar Odom, Phil Jackson, like you said. How did that all come to be after playing in Phoenix? Like, did Phil Jackson hit you up? Did Kobe recruit you? How did you get to LA?
NBA Summer Leagues. Once you're in that circuit, teams bring you in to kind of, I guess, fill a NBA roster during the summer, to kind of, work out with, certain players that they have an eye on. And, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to keep it 100% honest with you on this interview. I was never slated to make the NBA. And, I had to prove that I was good enough to play at that level. And not to, kind of, take anything away from me, but I always knew I was good enough to play in the NBA, and a lot of people think that I underachieved when I was in LA, when they don't understand that I overachieved. Like they had their point guards already. They paid Sasha Vujacic all that money. They paid McKee they brought him in from the Philadelphia 76ers. Aaron McKee to be the starting point guard, and I came in and I proved to that organization that I deserved. Not only did I deserve to play, be added on that team, on that roster, but I deserved to be a starter. And I started. I beat guys out for that starting position. And people, listen to certain people's slick comments about me, and they try to judge me on that. But again, not to take away from who I am as a player, but I overachieved in the eyes of the NBA.
20-plus points scored in your first 3 games with the Lakers. Minutes per game jumped from an average of your career 10 minutes per game to over 30. And over those 2 seasons, man, 11 points per game, 3 assists per game, 1.5 steals per game. Now, you kind of mentioned it, but does it irritate you that you don't get that credit and that people may just look at the comments that the media or a teammate might have made about you when in those 2 years you put in solid numbers?
Does it irritate me? No, it doesn't irritate me. disappointing. I'm more disappointed at myself for allowing that to happen. I'm just reaping what I sowed. And what I mean by that was, certain players made certain comments about me, but I actually started the beef. If I gotta eat what I gotta eat what's going on now because I actually started the feud. And a lot of people don't understand how it all started or where all of this stemmed from. But the comments being said to me were just retaliation, and they weren't the truth. And I'm not gonna say any names. I don't want to go into that conversation, but I'm gonna just leave it there.
I mean, I know you don't want to. I know you don't want to go into that conversation, but I think one thing to bring up the tail end of it, of course, Kobe Bryant passing away in January. You gave a very sentimental Instagram post to Kobe. The toughest pill to swallow for me has been the fact that I didn't get to verbally speak with my brother to reconcile our differences. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? I know you and Kobe butt heads in your friendship, but if you could elaborate on that, that would be great.
People see what's been said in the media or what's been shared in the media, during certain interviews, and they assume that Kobe and I had beef, which was not the case. When I was in LA, we never had a falling out. We never had a fight. It was just a situation where I spoke up and I spoke out on certain things that I shouldn't have. There's certain things that happen on teams or in your family. Let's just say something happened in your family. You don't go to the public and share what happens in your family. You keep whatever happened in your family within your family. And I went public, and it got back to Kobe, and it hurt him, and you could tell by how he reacted. But when I made that statement, actually I had a change of heart in a lot of the things that I said and what I did. About 7 years ago, I gave my life to Christ, and in doing so, the Lord's revealed to me certain things about myself, and I took ownership, and the things that I said, the things that I did to create that feud between me and him, me and my brother. So I went, public by, saying, I extended him an apology via social media. I don't know if he got it. I'm sure he did see it. I sent him a letter. I wrote out a letter. I sent it to him. I didn't get a response. But he and I never verbally spoke. He and I never met back in person after, I left the Lakers back in 2007. So I would have liked for us to have been able to, cross paths again and kind of speak and hash things out. And I never got the opportunity to.
You kind of did mention that letter. I read that you had some sort of communication with him back in 2017 around Christmas time. You sent him a photo and a ball to Kobe's foundation for him to sign for your pastor as a gift. Now, what was in that letter that you wrote, and did he send back for your pastor?
It was real short, me apologizing for my actions and my words against him. And, at the end of it, I signed it. I said, young mind, young thoughts, young actions, as far as, on what I did. I was 27 at the time when I, spoke out. When I sent that letter, I think you said about 3-4 years ago, I was 36, 35, 36. So, I had time to, kind of grow and mature in my thinking. And, I sent him a short letter, and my pastor, Pastor Louis Straker Jr., who's the pastor of Reflections Church, is a number one Kobe fan, number one, Lakers fan. And, for Christmas, I wanted to do something special for him. So I, like you said, I sent Kobe a ball and a picture of he and I, and he signed it. He signed it and sent it back. Which I was greatly appreciative of. He never responded to me, never sent me a letter, but he did, like I said, sign a basketball and sign a picture.
And Smush, when you were growing up, were you a big Kobe fan?
Particularly, no. And not because of any personal reasons. I just like, I like more team-oriented basketball. I wasn't into, the AI kind of play. I didn't have anything against Allen Iverson, but, I was more so like, I'm a point guard at heart. I love assists. I love passing the ball. I love team basketball. It's just pretty to watch when you see five guys out there working together, and and I get a high off of watching really, really, really good basketball. And that's not to take away from the greatness of Kobe Bryant or Allen Iverson. I just particularly as a player didn't, wasn't a fan.
Who are some of those players you like to watch?
Well, one, when I say team basketball, I like Kevin Garnett. Like that was my favorite player growing up because, he not only just wanted to score the basketball, he brought so many different dynamics to the game and to his team. Like he rebounded, he assisted, he blocked. When you look at the stat sheet at the end of the game, you see he had points, rebounds, assists, blocks, steals. He filled the stat sheet, and that was what my nickname was growing up in New York City in the playgrounds. They named me Fill the Stat Sheet because I like to do a lot of everything. Not just scoring the basketball. And Kevin Garnett brought the energy. I loved his energy. What he did defensively on both sides of the court, defense and offense. He liked to, he played the mind game with his opponents, like try to get guys off their game a little bit. So I enjoyed watching Kevin Garnett.
In 2006, Lakers Suns in the first round. You guys go to 7 games. You're the starter there, and you're matched up against Steve Nash. Tell me what you remember about guarding Nash, and if he gave you any headaches.
Headaches. I mean, he gave me nightmares. Steve Nash is a great player. One of the hardest guys I had to match up with. One of the smartest guards I had to match up with. And one thing that was hard about Steve Nash, it wasn't so much his athleticism or him being so much different than other point guards in the league, but the offense is what made Steve Nash. And not to take away from his skill, because he has skill, very good skill. He's a very talented player, but that offense was set up where the offense flowed through him on every single play. Like he was the engine. That they played a open floor, open concept offense, and it was just he was the playmaker for everybody. They surrounded him with catch and shoot players. No one else was a playmaker. If he was a playmaker, that offense was stagnant. So he attacked every single play, high pick and roll, side screen and roll, get into the lane, creating defensive matchups where somebody was open or somebody had a mismatch somewhere else. So he was always in attack mode, 100% of the game, always in attack mode. And it's hard to guard a player when they're 100% in attack mode on every single play.
Hey guys, Mikey here. I just want to cut away for a second to tell you about a great app I just discovered. It's called Rush Sports. It lets fans watch games together and play alongside the broadcast with free points to win real prizes. The app's founder, Tomasz, is with me today to tell us a little bit more about Rush Sports.
Thanks for having me, Mikey. The app is built for fans that are big fans of a sport or a team, but don't necessarily want to go out and bet real money to make the game more exciting for them. So what we do is we've created this digital stadium-like environment almost where fans are hanging out together, watching the game, chatting about what's happening. And every minute or so, they get to answer questions like who's going to shoot the next three? Is it LeBron or is it Jimmy Butler? And at the end of the game, we give out real prizes like jerseys and hats and gaming credit cards and things like that. So it doesn't cost you anything, but it still makes the broadcast really fun. And you get to socialize with a bunch of other fans. And I really thank you for having me on and letting me share the platform with your viewers.
For all you listeners out there, you can find the app on rushsports.io or search for Rush Sports on the App Store. Now, back to the interview. And also in LA, you mentioned it before, the great Phil Jackson as the head coach. Now, Phil is known to be the Zen kind of guy who would make his players meditate. Did you ever go through anything like that when he was your coach?
Most definitely. I don't think we went through it as much as you saw it in the documentary, the Michael Jordan documentary, when he was the coach for Chicago Bulls. But he did have us, a few times, I think in the playoffs, I believe, during film session, before we actually, watch film, he had us sit, upright in a chair. He turned the lights down low and he talk in this very mellow voice. and he have us, all put our hands together, palm, and hold it like this and close our eyes. And he'd be talking to you like this, close your eyes, clear your mind, focus on being at the beach and sitting there and listening to the waves. It was kind of a way to kind of clear our minds, because he wanted the information that, he was about to share with us to kind of not be hindered by, outside distractions, family, wife, girlfriend, children, business wise, work wise, anything. He wanted, because we had an objective, and the objective was to, kind of, stop Steve Nash and Phoenix Suns. And, we had a game plan that he wanted to get across, and he didn't want, like I said, any outside distractions.
Those years with the Lakers, those are arguably Kobe Bryant's highest scoring years, where he would just take over games. What's one memory of Kobe, of a game you remember watching, of him just flat out just taking over?
I mean, come on, that's only one game that anybody right now is thinking about, and that's the 81-point game in Toronto. I kid you not. I kid you not. It was late in the third quarter. I didn't know he was scoring that many points. I really wasn't. And at the end of the third quarter, I'm sitting on the bench before the fourth quarter starts, and I look up, and the dude has 69 points. And I'm like, Kobe has 69 points at the end of the third quarter? So then it started to, dawn on me like, yo, this guy is hot, like super, super hot. And, there were a couple shots that he would take in, and I was just like, wow, he made that. Okay, he made a 1-footer fadeaway with two people on him, 35-footer falling out of bounds. And then he got a steal, open court dunk, and it was just like, yo, the fans were going nuts. It was just one of those moments, like he was just floating, because he was just in one of those zones that there was nothing that the Toronto Raptors could do to stop him, besides put him in a hospital.
And Smush, what were his reactions like after the game? Now he's got the Mamba mentality, probably stone face, but what were your interactions with him and his teammates afterwards?
It was surreal. He just scored 81 points. He just surpassed everybody except for Wilt Chamberlain as the number 2 scorer in NBA history. People were in disbelief. Only a guy who could score 81 points believes he could score 81 points. So he wasn't in disbelief. He was Kobe. He was just like, he was confident. He knew what he could do. Everybody else on the team was just like, this guy just scored 81 points in a game. It was just one of those those it's unreal moments for everybody else but him.
And if you're on the Lakers, you're you're in the public eye in Los Angeles. The NBA has more tabs on you. You're the starting point guard of the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm sure you go out to nightclubs and everything like that, and you're just this famous star, all these celebrities everywhere. Tell me about certain celebs you've met and just the nights of LA as the starting point guard.
Well, I was never a club guy. To tell you the truth, I don't like being in crowds. I have a small case of claustrophobia. So if I can't control my personal space, I'm uncomfortable. So again, I never liked going to clubs. But when I did go out, I was always the small star. I was hanging out with Lamar Odom, and I'd hang out with Omar Cook. I'd hang out with Luke Walton. If I did, ever decide to, kind of go out. And I was kind of like the kid brother. No one really recognized who I was when I went out by myself. It was always whenever I went out with those Lakers, that they'd be, oh, is that Smush Parker? Because I was with those guys. So for me, it was just being normal. No one really knew who it was. No, but I did, like you said, I did get a chance to play in front of Jack Nicholson. He was courtside every game. It was cool. I got a chance to talk with Denzel Washington, who also went to Fordham. We have a connection. He's a Fordham alum, just like me. who else, but it's all of Hollywood is at your games. And I tell this cool story about how, the entertainers of the world came to the Staples Center to be entertained by me. And, that was just that's a great memory for me. No, it was a pretty dope experience when you look into the stands, you see all the actors and the actresses that you see on the big screen, and you go into the movies and there's hundreds of people in the same theater watching these people on a big screen, and they're entertaining and they're on TV, and you look and they're sitting in the stands looking at you being entertained, which was awesome.
I know you mentioned Nash, but who's another player who gave you a lot of trouble to guard?
A healthy Baron Davis, I would say, was like my number one hardest person to guard. He had all the tools, all the gifts, strong, athletic, street ball handle, could get into the paint at any time, could light it up from the outside. He was in attack mode also. Guys like him, guys like Gilbert Arenas, guys like even Sam Cassell, when he was a Clipper, his basketball IQ was off the charts. Whenever his team needed a bucket, he knew how to get one. Like guys who know, like that, people really don't understand. NBA players are on a different level. When they, when they're in the regular, they go home and they're not in season. You have these street ball players who think that these guys can't really play or they can beat these NBA players. NBA players have a switch. They have a switch. Then when they're home in the off season, they don't really be going hard. But guys like Sam Cassell and guys who are in the NBA, they know how to get like a bucket. Even at the highest level, they know how to get a bucket. And he was a hard matchup for me.
And, perfect example of that is when Kobe, I believe in 2006, I think he came to Rucker Park and tore it up, right? Yeah.
I see videos of that all the time.
Yeah, man.
They call him the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. And also, in recent memory, like 2014, Kevin Durant came to Rucker Park too. He put up like 65. So I see what you mean by they could just flip the switch and knock, bang around heads with all these little street ballers compared to them, Yeah.
It's a different level that those guys are on. So, a lot of the times when they come home, if they're on cruise control, you have these street ball players, and they go hard and they think they're doing something. But these NBA guys are in the off season. They're not trying to work out. They're not trying to get hurt. They're on cruise control. And, there's some times where they'll turn it on. And like you said, KD dropped 65 points. He was just out there, lighting them up. First of all, Kevin Durant, he's in NBA history. He might be the best scorer in NBA history. Flat out, hands down. I give the nod to him. I'm a big MJ fan. Big MJ. I grew up in the 80s and the 90s watching him, play and watching his highlights, and I wanted to be like Mike growing up. That was the era that everybody wanted to be like. I wanted to be like Mike. Mike is the greatest player to me. He's the GOAT. And for me to say that Kevin Durant is a better scorer than Mike, I gotta give it to Kevin Durant. He's a 7-footer with unlimited range. And he can put it he can handle the ball and get to the basket at will. Like, you can't stop him. Like, how can you stop a guy at that tall? Because you line him up with somebody who's just as tall, and he's athletic enough to go around him and get to the basket. And you line him up with somebody smaller who might be able to stop him from getting to the basket. He just raises up and shoots a jumper. Like, how can you stop KD?
Man, he's in Brooklyn now. I want to get your thoughts on that. How's he gonna do next year healthy? In the a big city.
A healthy BK Brooklyn Nets team next year goes to the finals. I guarantee. Look, I guarantee you right now on your show, if the BK Nets, if Kyrie and KD and the rest of the Nets team stays healthy, they make it to the finals next season.
Bold statement, and we're gonna be looking back on this for sure. So let's hope that you're right. And also, we mentioned and spoke about Steve Nash before. He's the new head coach. He was your former teammate, played against him. Amari Stoudemire an assistant. I want to get your thoughts on that as well.
When I saw that post, I was just like, wow, that's brotherhood right there. That's brotherhood. That's called take. That's like being in a fraternity. And they always say, guys who make the NBA, it's like making a fraternity, and things like that, shows the unity and brotherhood that that the NBA or the NBA players, I should say, have with one another. Where Steve Nash and his 1-2 guy, like that was the Phoenix Suns 1-2 punch right there. Amari Stoudemire and Steve Nash, and here they are at teaming up as coaches here in BK right now. It's awesome. It's awesome to see. It's awesome to see.
You're on the floor for Kobe's 81. Also, the Malice at the Palace. Now, I believe it was you that passed it down to Ben Wallace, which had that hard foul, which sparked everything. Now, we've seen it from the camera angle. Take me through your angle on the floor from your eyes, exactly what happened.
It happened so fast. I didn't see exactly what happened. I just saw the results when it ended up back at the little scores table, and Ron Artest was like laying down, and Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace and everybody was trying to, the confrontation. But like I said, I played on a great, Detroit Pistons team. I was just happy to be in the game at the time. It was the fourth quarter, and I just wanted to play basketball, and I was excited to be out there. And this happened. I was just like, come on, guys, I'm just ready to play. Like, come on. Frightening to see how the fans were really trying to attack the players, and just to see how it escalated. The fans running out onto the court, the players going up into the stands. It was, again, like it was the one and only time that I really didn't feel too safe playing basketball.
Is Ben Wallace a Hall of Famer, your former teammate?
Why wouldn't he be? He was one thing that I learned about the NBA, players get paid and recognized. They get paid millions and they get recognized as great players by being specialists. And Ben Wallace was a specialist at what he did. He played defense and he grabbed rebounds. And he did that better than anybody in his time. So I would say I would give him the nod. But then again, I don't really know the requirements to becoming a Hall of Famer. I just know that NBA players, like certain guys, specialize in a certain area in basketball, and they master their craft. And he mastered what he did, and no one did it better than him during his era.
I want to talk about your time in Miami, playing with Dwayne Wade, Shaquille O'Neal, Gary Payton, White Chocolate, and those guys.
My time in Miami was short, unfortunately, but I did get a chance to play with D Wade and Shaquille O'Neal. I mentioned Gary Payton, White Chocolate. I didn't mention Anton Walker, Alonzo Mourning, and it was fun. Shaq is a really fun guy to be around, and I'll tell you a cool story. It was the off season. My second year in LA, I was a free agent, and I was in New York City. At a little sports bar watching the Roy Jones fight. I was by myself, and who comes walking in by himself? Shaquille O'Neal, and he and I are sitting watching this fight and talking about basketball, talking about LA and things like that. And he asked me personally. He was like, "So what you doing next year?" I said, "I'm a free agent. I don't know where I'm going next year yet." He was like, "Hold on." And he makes a phone call, and he makes a phone call. He doesn't get anybody, but I just know that the next day that my agent had Miami Heat contract on the table for me at the very next day. That's how cool of a guy Shaq is. I mean, he's just a fun. That's my story, and he's just a fun guy to be around. It was a fun locker room to kind of hang out in, and I enjoy my time in Miami.
That's incredible, man. Two big, tall NBA players walk into a bar and next thing you know, you're on the Miami Heat. That's
Exactly.
funny. Now, you're 39. You haven't played professionally in a few years. You got other things going on. You got your company. You're grinding to become an NBA referee. Is it official that you're calling it quits on your playing career?
No, I'm done. My passion for the game has transferred to, the refereeing side. I played professional basketball for 17 years. 6 years in the NBA, 11 years overseas. I got my feeling. Do I love the game still? Yeah, I love the game. But as far as playing wise, my passion for the game has transferred from playing it and wanting to play it professionally to refereeing on the refereeing side and wanted to do that professionally. So yes, I'm done playing basketball. No big three for me.
Smush, thank you so much for coming on and being so real on so many different topics. And of course, wearing the Inside Buzz tee. I got your stuff on, Smush Parker Elite gear. Check it out on his Instagram.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you for the jersey swap. Thank you for rocking the Smush Parker Meet Me Upstairs sweater. And I look forward to doing this again with you.
For Smush Parker, I'm Mikey Domagala, and that was episode 24 of Inside Buzz. Thanks for watching.